What's the worst Christmas bonus you've ever received? I got a letter from corporate letting me know that they had made a donation in my name to a charity, specifically to themselves. I work for a nonprofit. Story 2. I worked at a company and the owner walked around during the Christmas party and gave people their paychecks in a fancy envelope. That way, clients would be thinking that the employees were getting bonuses. Story 3. Not a bad bonus itself, but management's reaction to how we used our bonuses was despicable. Years ago, I worked as a paramedic in the ER. The first few years, we'd get a pretty good bonus, $200 out of $500 depending on position. Then the hospital was sold. New owners cut bonuses and gave each employee a gift certificate for a free turkey from a local grocery chain. At the time, the value was about $15. Most of the staff, myself included, felt a bit dismayed, but we were polite about it. Since not many of us cooked turkey for Christmas dinner, we donated our gift certificates to a couple of homeless shelters in town. Management caught wind of it and sent an email to all employees stating that since we didn't appreciate the thoughtful gift provided by the hospital, there would be no Christmas bonuses going forward. We tried to pay it forward to someone less fortunate and got slapped in the face for it. Story 4. I worked in a supermarket, and one year part of Christmas celebrations was that the week before Christmas, the staff cafeteria would host Christmas dinner for the staff, and they would be waited on by the management team. It was a free meal, 3 courses with wine. Cheap, but a decent gesture meant in good humor. It was a big supermarket, so there were a lot of staff. This meant that dinner had to have 3 sittings, so that A, everyone who wanted to attend could, and B, enough staff were left to run the shop floor. I was working a 10-ish-hour shift that day, closing my department, so I opted for the 3rd sitting. My friend Dan was on his day off, but planned to come in for lunch just to hang out with people and get free food, which we had been told was totally fine. By the end of the 2nd sitting, the management team decided that they had had enough, didn't host the 3rd sitting, and in fact just closed the cafeteria and ate Christmas dinner by themselves. Both me and Dan were effectively told at the door that we weren't invited, and no one else was allowed in except to get water or use the vending machine. Dan drove to work on his day off to basically be told to duck off. I worked to 8 p.m. without eating since 8 a.m. that morning. I never got so much as acknowledgement that the event even happened, let alone an apology, let alone so much as a handful of chocolates from one of the half-dozen boxes that had been opened and left around the tables. My Christmas bonus was to look through the window and watch my boss and all his friends eat free Christmas dinner with wine on the company's dime, while I got to buy myself a day-old sandwich on the way out and get stink eye from the cashiers because they had to stay an extra 2 minutes while I paid. Merry Christmas, Tesco. Story 5. The statement of, "Be happy you have a job." They had to find a new replacement after that. You could just say no bonus, but you had to be idiot about it. Story 6. I'd say nothing. I worked for a smaller business that did profit sharing, had a banner year, and gave out a minimum of $500 gift cards to even new employees. I was skipped. I was told it was an accident and that someone just miscounted. I had been there 3 years at that point and put in some stupid hours after going salary. I wasn't depending on the bonus, but it was a real kick in the teeth. It made me feel less than, and I started looking at leaving after that because they never made it right, and I was one of 3 people excluded. When I put in notice to leave, my boss knew because he said, "This is about the Christmas bonus, isn't it? If it was that important to you, you should have spoken up." I did. I expressed my disappointment. He said, "I just thought you were venting. I didn't think you'd actually leave over this. I can't express to you how disappointed I am that you would leave us right now over some gift cards at Christmas." He never got the point. Story 7. A Butterball turkey branded check for a $10 turkey at the grocery store. Not a gift certificate, a check with routing numbers and everything. I still don't know how it worked or why. I worked at a hotel and everyone was handed a legit check from Butterball for $10 with their paycheck. I took it to the grocery store, and they got so confused they just gave me a frozen turkey. One of the bellmen said he cashed it for $10 and it worked. I'm still confused by the Butterball turkey check. Story 8. Back in the 90s, working for the United Kingdom Civil Service, everyone was offered 5 whole English pounds. You could accept it, and it would be contributed to the Xmas Party Fund, or not accept it, and don't go. We also had to bring our own booze to the Xmas party in Story 9. After busting our asses to achieve the goal for the year, the boss got a fat check. Mid 5 figures, we got a Starbucks card, 1 cup coffee. Story 10. An email phishing test sent by my employer to test if people will fall for a fake email. The email appeared to be from a gift card URL with a Starbucks logo and my employer logo and said I was getting a Starbucks gift card for the Christmas holiday. When I clicked on it, it basically said, "Gotcha. If that was a real phishing email, you would have been scammed." So they decided to kick everyone in the nuts for Christmas. Story 11. I worked for a company that gave us $5 per year of service and a free turkey or ham from the local grocery store. The ham was canned and the turkey was the size of a chicken. My third year there, they discontinued the turkey ham. After tax, I got a check for $11. I started a new job later that year. At Christmas time, my boss pulled me aside and told me that bonuses would be coming and warned me not to be discouraged because my bonus would be prorated as I had started mid-year. On bonus day, he pulled me into an office, apologized for the size of the bonus, and handed me a check for $8,000. I laughed my ass off. He asked me why I was laughing. Fortunately, I still had my uncashed bonus from the previous year in my wallet. I handed him the check for $11 bucks and told him what it was. I guess you're okay with the prorated bonus then? Was his reply. Story 12. This wasn't a Christmas bonus, but it was awful. I used to work at Radio Shack before it went defunct. The job was fine, got to meet cool nerds and teach electronics to kids. Overall, pretty good stuff. Well, Radio Shack thought that the best way to earn billions was to get into the phone business, which was a bad move overall. Our district manager, DM, was on a call with the regional and state-level management teams, and they decided to host a statewide competition. Whichever DM got the highest phone sales during the release of the Samsung Galaxy 5 would get a really nice year-end bonus on their check. Of course, our DM wanted that badly, so he got all of his teams together and huddled us up on a call. He told us we had to win this, and that the store with the highest sales would earn a special reward. My manager was psyched. We were all pumped. So our store made a game plan, and we duck and killed it. We got the best sales in state by a small margin. I remember the day our DM called us to congratulate us. He told us that all hands on deck for Friday. We got a big surprise, and we were all so excited. All week we speculated on what it would be. Maybe a raise, a fancy dinner, gift cards, something neat. Friday comes, and our DM shows up early in the morning while our morning shifters prepared to open, 3 of us, me included. He asked us to chip in for some pizza for today. None of us had any issues with that. We generally did that for lunch anyway. I think we each gave about $20. DM says, okay, I gotta run some errands, get some gas, then I'll come back with the pizza. We all went back to work. The day continued, and our other staff who were either working the night shift or had the night off showed up for this special surprise. Around 1 p.m., DM shows back up with 3 boxes of Little Caesars pizza, 1 bag of breadsticks, 1 thing of marinara sauce, and 1 2LTR of Pepsi. So we all funneled into the back and ate our crappy pizza and were having a decent time talking with each other. After about 20-ish minutes, our manager says, all right, DM, we're all dying to know, what's the surprise? To which our DM gave him a confused look and said, the pizza is the surprise. I have never seen a room fall so silent so fast in my life. Our manager had a look of utter disbelief and said, wait, a pizza party? That's the surprise? And didn't you borrow money from us to pay for this? The DM got flustered and started saying we were ungrateful. And that's when one of the workers said, I get pizza from LC all the time. Isn't no way you spent $60 on just this. Where's the rest of the money? Our DM and manager went to the office room and were shouting at each other for about an hour as the rest of us were blown away. Our theory was he used the money to fill up his gas for his SUV, then got pizza with whatever was left. Story 13. My old work started by giving Christmas cards stuffed with cash. Within 10 years, the bonus was reduced to nothing. We ended up with a boring holiday party, 2 drink tickets, and a mashed potato bar. Many vital employees who helped build the place quit. The MGMT continues to chip away. It went from a great place to work to crap. Story 14. As an intern at the zoo, working with lizards and stuff, the manager got us all sweatshirts that had the zoo logo and a nickname spelled out on the front. It said, the herpes. She meant it as short for herpetologist. Story 15. Worked for this company for 7 years. Keep in mind there were only 10 of us in Australia. There were never bonuses, so I'll tell you about the Xmas party. First Xmas party, GM flew over from England, booked a restaurant, bought boxes of booze, and spoke about the party of the year, about to happen. He then proceeded to take the head of sales, the head of tech, and the delivery manager out to the restaurant for dinner, and then off to his hotel room to get blind and do CK and escorts. The other 6 of us asked, before they went to dinner, what the address of the restaurant was, and were told that we could go out to a bar and have some drinks or dinner, but it was on our own dime. Second Xmas party, we had a new GM this time in Australia. His Xmas party was to order a grilled cheese sandwich and a soft drink for the office, and leave them in the boardroom while he went out sailing. There were 8 staff total then, and only 3 soft drinks and 5 sandwiches were ordered. We didn't know about the food until the next day, as the GM said nothing about it, and one of the sales staff found the food when he had a meeting with clients. Third Xmas party, same Jim, told us he was giving us the day off. We thought he meant the following day. He told us this at 3:45 p.m. He meant the rest of the day. 4th, 5th, and 6th Xmas party, nothing happened. Not a thing. Not even a secret Santa. 7th Xmas party, we all received $100 gift cards for a stationery store. This store was part owned by the GM's wife. That same day, the GM advised that corporate were shutting down operations in our region, and we were all being let go, effective immediately. This was on the 23rd December. Story 16. Here's mine. I was working for a company and was a few months in. In this company, there were full-time and contracted workers. They would have people on contract for 3 months before converting them to full-time. I was projected to move to full-time in the new year. Before the holiday, they gathered all of us together on a meeting, gave the updates, and told us they had a special announcement. The CEO then said that everybody on the call was getting a $200 bonus. Once we got off, they messaged us and said that non-full-time employees weren't included. They forgot to take us off of the meeting. So my worst bonus was a bonus that I had and then didn't have. Story 17. One year I was given a corporate card and told to run down to Starbucks and pick up $20 gift cards for everyone on the team. I was told, get 18 in total, no more than 18. I got 18 and was thinking that it was super neat because I'd never gotten anything from work for Christmas before. I knew it wasn't much, but it was something. I put them on my boss's desk. He said, thanks, and that was it. About 2 hours later, he calls me in and asks why I bought 18. I showed him the post-it note he gave me, and he said, oh, we only need 17, so I'm going to need you to reimburse me for the last one. He was serious. He made me go to an ATM and get him a $20. Afterwards, he passed them all out, and it turns out he actually didn't need 18. He needed 19. He then said, since they were one short, and it was my job to get them, I don't get one. He said he already spent the 20, so he'll have to get me back later. He never got me back, so I got $20 for a bonus one year. Story 18. I've had small bonuses at prior companies. This year, we are getting the entire week of Christmas off, paid. The entire company is shut down for the week. No reduction as well. Story 19. The day before Xmas, when we were supposed to get our promised bonuses, the company canceled them, and the raises we were all promised, and then our hours got cut. Also, the company directors and owner could go on a company retreat. When the company closed its doors a month later due to having no employees, they sent out letters stating how disappointed they were with our work ethic for quitting. One of the directors got a job at the bank and was fired a week later for unprofessional work behavior. I know, I am the one who fired him. That's what you get for biting a female colleague's boob, John. Story 20. I worked for a startup consultancy in the early .com days. There were 3 hotshot bosses, co-founders, owners, not much older than me, but I was new to the industry. Anyway, we're doing so well that Microsoft calls us up and asks if I can work on a special project, but I'd have to go to Redmond for 3 months. Well, I had just had my first kid, and it was the end of the year. I got home the day before Christmas. My boss pulled me aside and handed me a $2,000 bonus. I noticed all 3 of them had bought new cars, AM5, Porsche 911, and a 740 Isle for Christmas. I wasn't happy with the $2K bonus, but I was making about $90K a year and expected a bit more for how well everything was going. A day later, Microsoft sent over the final project details from the project. I'm still not sure why they CC'd me, which included their accounting department, with the signed project and payment details. Turned out, they had paid the company I was working for $500K for my 3 months of effort, which bought their new cars plus more, and all they could think to give me was a $2K bonus. Now, I'm all for businesses making money, profit, but this project was exclusive to me. Nobody else was involved, and all they could give me was $2K. I put in 12 to 13-hour days on a $90K salary for this project, missed my newborn, who was only 3 months old, and had a wife who still has some issues with how I left her alone for 3 months with a newborn. I quit the same day. Story 21. Not me, but my wife. She's a home carer. During COVID lockdowns, the head office asked them all to come in to pick up their Christmas bonus treat. It was a single ducking tea bag with a bow around it and a mini pack of biscuits. You get more at a cheap hotel, complimentary. That was it. All they got for risking their lives and their families' lives on a daily basis while everyone else was marooned at home. Story 22. Not me, but my dad. His company had a banner year. Dad was responsible for much of the success. All year, his boss had talked about generous Christmas bonuses. Dad was counting on that Christmas bonus to buy Christmas presents. He was disappointed when he didn't get anything on his last payday before the holiday break. But his boss told him he was coming by our house on Christmas Eve because he had something special to drop off. We were all pretty excited, waiting for the boss to arrive. Around 8 p.m., he pulled up in a very expensive car. He was wearing clothes that even I knew cost a small fortune. He was holding a small floral arrangement with a deer figurine. Dad invited him in. He wished my mom a Merry Christmas and handed her the arrangement. Then he said he had other people to visit. He did not hand my dad an envelope. He did not say a word about a bonus. He just left. I could tell my parents were stunned, then angry, really angry. Mom mentioned where she might shove that reindeer. Mom didn't usually talk like that. Within 6 months, Dad gave his notice, and eventually, karma caught up with the boss. Story 23. A past employer did away with holiday bonuses, holiday parties, anything like that. Then they announced they were getting us lunch for the holiday. They got us each a boxed lunch with a sandwich, fruit, and chips, which was nicer than anything they'd done since our small private company was bought by unethical vampire corporation Fidelity. Then, the rep for our vending machine company, Sodexo, mentioned that no one had said thank you for the Christmas lunches gifted by Sodexo, not by Fidelity. The company got in trouble for writing off employees' charitable donations as well. So this was exactly the kind of unethical shareholder-enriching plot they hatched at every opportunity. Story 24. I worked for an online electronics retailer during the later part of dot-com bubble bust post 9/11 recession. The company had laid off about half of the company right before Thanksgiving, right as we headed into the busy holiday season. So those of us left had to do double work through the holidays. Right after New Year's, we had a small, somewhat somber holiday gathering in the office, given that they'd let half the company go like 2 months earlier. To thank us for all our hard work during a difficult time, they gave each of us Rio MP3 player, like the very original ones that held less than a single album worth of music. At that point, the newest ones held like 100 songs. Right after announcing the gifts, the CEO then complimented the portable electrics buyer for getting a shipping container of these overstock devices for 5 cents a piece to sell on our site. We ended up selling them for 20. Too late, he realized he also just let us know how little our efforts were valued, and we could all see on his face he realized he'd ducked up. Story 25. A $1 lint roller. I was the first employee there and helped get everything going before they opened, and then worked there another 4 years, and that's the thanks I get. The owner later down the road tried attempting a huge insurance scam and tried to put all the blame on me after I had been gone 3 years. As swipe and as a second bonus along with the lint roller, I got a pay cut too. Story 26. Not me, but in the late 90s, my mom was a nurse's aide for a very large hospital, approx 5K employees at the time, that would give everyone monetary end-of-year bonuses as well as vouchers in your paycheck envelope for a free turkey and a free ham at the local grocery store chain. 1 year, though, without an announcement ahead of time, the hospital had no bonuses and no turkey or ham vouchers. There was a voucher, however, to pick up your free copy of a hardcover, gold-leafed, all pages printed in color book of the entire history of the hospital itself. Thousands of these had been printed, and by spring of the next year, waiting rooms and lobbies all throughout the hospital and clinics were overflowing with the books. Pages were ripped out, and kids had colored in them. Several physicians, surgeons, and RNs quit over the lack of bonuses because that was part of their employment contract with the hospital. It was a mess. Story 27. I've been working as a registered nurse for 10 years, and I have never gotten anything resembling a Christmas bonus. The only thing that's different is they don't charge us for lunch in the cafeteria on Christmas Day. Story 28. Normally get pretty decent bonuses and stuff like cash as a bit of a tradition where the office goes into shutdown over the summer Christmas break, but had a job interview at a big corporate early on in my career, which was going well until the end when I asked about salary and perks, like private medical care, which is a nice bonus in most jobs here. The interviewer told me the salary was set at about 5K less than I was earning. Seeing my face, that clearly indicated that, this is a waste on my time. He started talking about the perks, like $50 allowance for the Christmas social event, and that I could get a suit at a discount or even a free corporate branded tie. To be fair, even the interviewer looked embarrassed at trying to go over the bonuses, when we both knew the CEO was making news for getting multi-million-dollar bonuses. Still remember having to pay parking when in was in the corporate downtown building. About 20s for parking for a pointless interview. Story 29. Got a $100 bonus taxed, so came out to 67. Then HR sends out an email next day asking everyone who received a bonus if each person would pitch in $25 to $50 each towards a Bass Pro Shop gift card for the boss because of all he does for us. They asked every one of the 55 employees this. The same boss whom the year prior gave the server at the Xmas dinner $1,200 in tips because she sat on his lap like he was Santa and then proceeded to tell 12 people they were ducking fired and wondered why they didn't show up to work the 27th. Duck you, Ryan. You're a real piece of crap. Story 30. We didn't get bonuses or anything, and 1 year, someone from the office came around with a stack of envelopes and a big smile, handing them out. Was working when they walked through, so I thanked them as I put it in my pocket and kept working. Heard someone yell my name a few minutes later, but looked around and didn't see anyone. Heard someone yell my name again and looked over to see a coworker. He asked me how I liked the notice. I said I haven't read it yet, so He hit the off switch on my machine and he told me to read it. First line was, "Merry Christmas. Effective immediately, we are discontinuing holiday pay." The day before Christmas. A bunch of people left early at lunch because they didn't care anymore. The no holiday pay lasted until Halloween of the next year, and that was only reinstated because they couldn't get anyone to work for them, and they thought it was a beautiful perk to sweeten the deal. Story 31. I worked for a small production company, and every year prior to my starting there, everyone would get the week between Christmas and New Year's off. Last year, the CEO decided that work wasn't getting done fast enough, so he took the week away from us. Then, when the work he wanted to get done was finished just days before Christmas, he so graciously gave us the week back as a thank you for our hard work. At least 2 of my coworkers had to cancel trips they had planned because they were out. I got fired from that job last month, and I do not miss it. Story 32. An email telling us that because we are it, we won't be getting a holiday bonus anymore. As it is a cost center and doesn't generate revenue, departments will no longer be eligible for a holiday bonus. Never mind that this company did billions of dollars a year in business without any physical locations. Their entire operational surface was online. Yeah. 2 weeks later, my IT manager comes in, all excited about the new Tesla he just bought. Oh right, he's not an ET manager. He's a manager of it. So he's a manager, not it. The collective moral of all the IT teams dropped to near zero. 5 years later, when I left that company, it still wasn't eligible for holiday bonuses and had been uninvited from the holiday party. Not that they cared, they just kept hiring offshore at replacements with zero skill. Yeah, duck that company. They are a mortgage company. Story 33, not a bonus, but we had a Christmas gift exchange party after hours. But they scheduled me for a morning shift the day after, and I legally had to go home and get 8 hours of sleep for work the next day and couldn't attend the party. The guy who was assigned to get a gift for me agreed to give it to me the day after, but he conveniently forgot to bring it to work. Asked him the next day and he still forgot. Ended up getting it in March. Story 34. My old company used to give gifts at Xmas. They were usually pretty good. One particularly lucrative year for the company, we got Ray-Bans, a Leatherman, and a belt with a cool belt buckle related to work. Company bought in bulk and ended up giving the extras away to clients. They bought so many that they were giving stuff away almost a year later. One of my coworkers was out with a work injury, so I put aside a set of each for him. When he came back to work, we gave them to him. Didn't know that the owner hated him. Few weeks later, owner came in and saw a coworker walking around with them on. Came in and went ballistic about it, asking who gave it to him. Department head stepped in and said he did. Owner gave him a huge dressing down over it. We never got gifts again after that. Story 35. The saddest Christmas meal I've ever had. I used to work for an airline and had to work on Christmas most years. Usually, the managers would provide a decent meal, either catered from somewhere like Famous Dave's or bringing in a ham and everything. The last Christmas before I left the company, the manager decided airplane food would suffice. Literally brought in little individual meals from the airplane catering company that consisted of a few shreds of some unknown gray meat, a small lump of mashed potatoes, and half the meal was bland-looking steamed vegetables that absolutely stank. After getting a whiff, one coworker said only seafood should smell like seafood. Story 36. I work in the trades. Here were the last 4 in order. A broken analog wall clock with company logo, a donut, a winter jacket 2 sizes too small, and a layoff. They mailed me the jacket a month after the layoff when it came in. And finally, all the beer I could drink at a company party and 3 days' pay, which was nice. Story 37. A company I worked for announced that due to problems at one of our shareholders, who owned the building we worked in, not only would we not get a bonus for a Christmas party, but we were forbidden to put up any decorations or bring in festive foods, which we paid for ourselves. This was because the parent company was firing a lot of people over Christmas, and it could be seen as insensitive because the ex-employees would have to walk past our offices. The announcement was made to us before the sacked employees were told. We were independent businesses which just happened to share an office block. Story 38. I worked for a car dealership owned by a billionaire who owns over 100 dealerships and 4 NASCAR teams. One day, about a week before Christmas, they called us all in the management tower and gave us all an envelope. They were all smiles and happy, and we thought we were getting a Christmas bonus. It was a Christmas card with a picture of him and his wife on his $27 million yacht. No money, no gift card, no nothing. Just a picture of a completely self-unaware, rich, smiling like a goon. Thanks a lot. The worst part were the guys who hung theirs up in their cubicle like he was their buddy or actually cared about them. Story 39. I've never gotten a Christmas bonus, but 2 years ago, they threw us a Christmas luncheon, then ran out of food before half the people went through the line. So they told us we could leave early. Last year, they had servers serving all the food, so that situation didn't happen again. What we were served was 1 meatball, 1 chicken wing, 1 skewer of lettuce, onion, and a cherry tomato. We did each get a gift card, though. Mine was $25 to a restaurant. This year's party is next week. Fingers crossed, we can at least get a real lunch. Story 40. I worked as a cook in a nursing home kitchen. I worked up to 80 hours a week. I would beg my boss for help through tears and trying to keep up with all the work while being wildly understaffed. And for Xmas, he gave me a miniature whisk keychain. I put my notice in shortly after. On my last day, he bought me a sheet cake with the intention of us having a little goodbye party for me with the crew. I had rode my bicycle to work, and you better believe that I took the whole thing and balanced it on my handlebars and rode my happy ass into the sunset. Story 41. I've been with the same company for 7 years. December is when we do our annual reviews with our respective managers and get our comp adjustments, raises, for the following year, and find out what our bonuses will be. We have a big holiday party at some local venue, complete with a nice dinner, open bar, a kid. Last year, our CEO had a big all-hands meeting in the first week of December to announce that there would be no bonuses, no raises, no holiday party, but hey, everyone gets a $100 Visa gift card. Woo! Story 42. Some idiot made a donation in my name to the Human Fund. Apparently, he's now the best seller at the Git store. All sold out, I hear. If you know, you know. Story 43. Used to work for my ex-husband. Never got paid. One Christmas, he bought one of our regular clients a meet and greet lunch. 20 pizzas delivered. Nothing for me and our children. So I took some money from his cash jobs and bought pizzas for us. That was the closest to a Christmas bonus I ever received. Story 44. Replaced my year-end bonus with a point system for rewards. Instead of my usual $5,000, I got $5,000 in points, which was equivalent to a gift card for $50. Oh, management kept their year-end bonuses instead of the crafty point system, and they were proud to announce that their year-end bonuses have doubled to triple in our little company town hall meeting. I gave in my 2 weeks a week later. Story 45. I worked at a Bank of America branch many years ago, and 1 year after we had broken sales records, they gave us all a bottle of sparkling cider for a Christmas bonus. When I was walking home later that night, I popped into Substance's store to pick up something, and right by the front door was a large stacked display of the same bottles of cider we were given as a Christmas bonus, and they were selling for like 79 cents each. Thanks a lot, Bank of America. Story 46. I was a roofer years ago, and my boss got some swag from a sales rep for a shingle company. T-shirts, toques, baseball hats, which happens quite often. He gave us that stuff and called it our bonus. Story 47. Had a company give me a 0.02 raise once. My supervisor told me I had to sign the piece of paper showing her giving it to me. I told him it was an insult that they even took the time to print that, and they spent more on paper and ink than the raise was worth. He said, "But if you don't sign it, you won't get your raise?" I asked him if he really thought I'd miss a 2-cent raise on my check and asked him to politely go away. Story 48. My current company has 70,000 employees, most highly skilled with specialized licenses. Our CEO inherited the company from their father, who inherited it from his father. The CEO has had their net worth increase by $12 billion since 2019. They could, theoretically, give every one of the employees $375,000 before they ran out of money. Meanwhile, 50% of our income or more goes to rent for most of us. This year, we got a blanket that's cheaper than the one my dog uses when he sits on the couch. So now he has his next blanket. Story 49. I once worked for a physician who was trying to do a startup. I was employee number 1. I got him a framed photo for the holidays, and realizing he didn't have anything for me, he left the room and came back with a check for $100 that originally said $200, but he scratched out the 2 and replaced it with a 1. Story 50. A few years ago, my company sent out an email saying that holidays bonuses were being ended, and instead the company would donate educational equipment to local schools. The funny thing was that the educational equipment was equipment we made, and the company was desperately trying to penetrate the education market. So basically, they gave these schools a lot of our product as a marketing ploy under the guise of a holiday donation. Also, the company got to write the donation off. Story 51. My Christmas bonus was being told about a week ahead of time that the office was closing, and Dex 23rd was everyone's last day. My next worst bonus was a $200 gift certificate to order stuff from a swag-type catalog. It was mostly clothing, and everything came with the company's logo. But there was a screw-up with the company's order, and everyone's gifts were delayed. I was laid off 2.5 months later and still hadn't received my company-logoed gifts. Story 52. A donut. Yes, a pink glazed donut with sprinkles on the top, individually boxed and left on our desks late at night by the internal marketing team. I got in early to discover mine and enjoy the comments from my coworkers. The most common one was, "Oh, get ducked," as they yeeted it into the trash. Story 53. I was put on a performance improvement plan in early November, supposed to be a 4-week process to show improvement. Week 4 rolls around, I thought I'd made a lot of progress. Week 5 rolls around, week 6. I got fired. My replacement got my Christmas bonus on his first day, the very next day, 100 cash. Story 54. A computer virus. The company rarely gave Christmas bonuses. One year, a fictitious email went out saying the company was extra profitable, so they were doing bonuses that year. There was a link in the email to the bonus they were giving, but the email was fake, and the link put a virus on my computer. I thought it was hilarious. Story 55. A 8-pump pay bonus, followed by a letter 3 days later informing me that due to another business unit on the other side of the world not hitting its target, that my bonus would no longer be happening. Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for Story 56. A t-shirt with the company's name on it. On the back was ways to work safely, like lift with your knees, wear safety glasses. It was a checklist. We're supposed to wear it when we were safety person on a particular day. Yay. Story 57. I was fired from a dog treat bakery the day before New Year's Eve. After the discussion, he handed me a card and said, "This is a little awkward, but Merry Christmas." It was $50. I loved that job, but the owner had too high expectations. His entire staff quit. Story 58. My boss got me a book. When I opened it, a card fell out, addressed to him, telling him to enjoy the book. The guy who sat next to me had a different boss, and he got $1,000 cash. Story 59. Worst, $25 Starbucks gift card. Best, I used to work for a beef production company. My salary was $1,500 a month at the time. Back in 2004 or somewhere in there, beef from all over the world went south and American beef shot through the roof. The company did profit sharing. I got a $5,000 bonus. Story 60. We got cruises one year. We had to book them on the owner's credit card so he could get the points. He also had to approve the dates we took off to go. No one ever got to go on a cruise. Story 61. What Christmas bonus? 10K employees. Company made $5.5 billion in profit. CEO makes $40 and has two $12 houses. Not even a Christmas party this year. Budget problems, blah, blah, blah. Story 62. Walmart gives their employees 15% off on a one-time purchase in store only. I was excited about 15% off. My husband said, "So you have to spend money in their store for your Christmas bonus?" I was no longer excited when he put it that way. Story 63. One-year company gave out canned hams instead of the normal $100 to employees. Usually it was $50 on $200, depending on your level of seniority. One guy got his and just threw it straight into the trash. They tried handing one to my wife, whom they know is a vegan. Story 64. A couple years ago, my old employer gifted every single department one tube of chapstick with the company's logo on it. I mean, I used it, but then lost it like a week later, so. Story 65. My mother got a $15 coupon for a turkey and a Christmas card from the CEO with a picture of his family in Jamaica. She was a store manager at the time. Story 66. Got a bag of Wish.com quality junk with the company's name on it. Received a sweater last year. My team generated over $10 million in profit. They bragged for over a month about what we were getting, and it ended up being a ducking sweater. Story 67. I got a crappy Christmas tree ornament from the director's friend's Etsy shop. She bought one for everyone on the team. I also got a succulent plant one year. It looked pretty fancy. Just give me the $20, $50. I don't want this crap. Story 68. Our company allowed us to sell back our own unused hours and then called that check that we had earned throughout the year and traded in our Christmas bonus. I crap you not. Story 69. A sticker. A goddamn sticker of a grocery cart at my old grocery store job. We all got a stupid-ass sticker of a grocery cart as a thank you bonus. Duck that job. Story 70. GoDaddy sent us a $500 Christmas bonus that was actually a phishing email and then gave us a lecture on how we were all so stupid for falling for it and gave the whole company security training again. What is the worst Christmas present you've ever received? Story 1. My ex got me a 6'3" guy, a women's medium white hoodie. I was so mad about it. She has a habit of getting others gifts that are really for her. I wore the crap out of that hoodie. Time to mow the grass. Time for the white hoodie. Need to fix the car. Yep, time for the white hoodie. She was so mad. Glad she's an ex. Story 2. First Christmas with my dad, his new wife, and her kids. They opened designer handbags, DVD box sets, electronics, etc. I got a bottle of Herbal Essences shampoo. No matching conditioner. My sister got a Hanes 5-pack of granny panties. My stepmother is not a nice lady. Story 3. My entire life, my parents have teased me for enjoying soggy cereal. I don't like things that are too crunchy, and I prefer a texture closer to oatmeal. I don't mind the teasing. I think it's funny too, and have made a lot of jokes about it myself. I just like my cereal soggy, end of story. Christmas morning, my brother opens up the novelty bowl, which keeps the cereal and milk separate. I thought it was a neat invention, but I remarked jokingly that I would never use something like that because As everybody knows, I want my cereal to be soggy. My parents gave me a withering look like I deeply offended them, and my dad told me something along the lines of, "Don't be rude." Little did I know they'd bought one for me as well, and I was very confused when I opened it. It was not a gag gift, and my parents were genuinely annoyed that I didn't like it, but I couldn't pretend otherwise because I'd already blown my cover by commenting on my brother's bowl. The gift itself wasn't insulting or stupid, but the way my family suddenly collectively forgot something that they'd teased me about for 20 years was weirdly hurtful. I still don't get how that happened. Story 4. My husband is an incredible human and talented at many things, but he gave me a truly hilarious gift once. For our very first Christmas together, 2004, we were young and broke, 22 in grad school. He was so excited to give me my gift and he presented it proudly in front of my family. He got me a mini sampler of perfumes, a book, and a box of high-end chocolates. These are all great gifts on their own, but ironically, 1, I'm allergic to most perfumes/colognes. 2, he had already given me the exact same book a few months earlier for my birthday. And 3, I'm lactose intolerant. I was honestly touched by the thought, but the irony was too much. My sister burst out laughing. It's still a joke in our family, but we were all so charmed by the fact that he'd gone to multiple stores and was so proud. Poor, sweet guy. We're happily married now, but he definitely knows to avoid chocolate and perfume. Story 5. A kitten. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my cat and I'm so happy I have her. But when my mom got her for me, it was a poorly thought out surprise. It was even a surprise as to my grandparents, who I live with, and had no idea they'd be getting a cat in their house. She also didn't provide a litter tray, or litter, or cat food. So my Christmas became a fetch quest of trying to get together everything the kitten needed with all the shops closed. Story 6. I was told by going into Christmas that we were broke and I shouldn't expect much if anything, which I was fine. We chose to celebrate at the grandparents', so no gift openings at home, apart from some chocolate in my stocking from Dad. At the grandparents', I opened my gift first, new set of pajamas. I was 13, so they were nice, but not something I was really excited about. Everyone else opens their modest gifts. Parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles all had a few gifts each. Usually, my grandparents hand out checks to everyone for $100 or $200 at each grandkid, but this year they said there were no checks. Instead, there was a big surprise. My mom hands my sister a card, the final gift. Inside was a photo of my sister's new $6,000 horse, which was big, so we had to get a new $8,000 horse trailer. And because the horse and trailer were so big, a new $24,000 truck was needed. Story 7. Someone in the extended family repeatedly gave me alcohol and shot glasses when it was well known I'd quit drinking. They did it maliciously, thinking I'd fall off the wagon. What they didn't understand was that I quit drinking because it was giving me anaphylaxis. If I started drinking again, it's not like I'd relapse, I'd die. That crap gets worse each time. Story 8. My husband is a guitar player. He gives me music equipment that I don't know the purpose of. Of course, it's for him. So since I'm an avid gardener, I give him gardening tools for Christmas. Story 9. An Atari 2600. My dad had basically no involvement in my life, but thought that getting a nice gift would make up for it. He got me an Atari 600 for my birthday in July, and had given it so little thought that he got me another one for Christmas, because he forgot that he had already bought one for me. I know people who obviously had it worse, but this was the moment I realized at 8 years old that my dad didn't give a crap about me. Story 10. A one-person tent and lantern for my mill. We were struggling to pay the bills back then, and she said, in front of everyone, "This is in case you guys get evicted." We had 3 kids at the time. Story 11. Not Christmas, but my 18th birthday, December baby. Basically, I get to choose which one I want presents. Super poor growing up, invited some PPL to my B-day. It wasn't too bad. One friend made my cake. It was so badly decorated, it was actually pretty cool. Couple PPL left early. We had pizza and snacks. One of my friends got me some scratch tickets, won. 10K was freaking out. That was literally like half what my mom made in a year. Life-changing. He's laughing, I'm crying, tells me to look for how to cash it in. It's a fake ticket that literally asked him to go home right then and there. Didn't talk to him anymore. My birthdays are usually bad, but that was just cruel. Story 12. One particularly tough year, many years ago, I was battling cancer. All good now. Hubby worked part-time to look after me and the kids, so money was super tight. Hubby and I decided not to do gifts for each other. Everything we saved for Christmas went to the kids and to the meal. There wasn't much of everything, to be honest, but we made it work. Kids were young. Young kids didn't need much to feel special, so we had that in our favor. A few weeks before Christmas, we went to a charity dinner for people doing it tough, and were all given Christmas gifts. Most people unwrapped it then and there, but we took the gifts home to put under the tree as there wasn't much of anything under our tree. We waited for Christmas Day, saying it'll be extra special to wait. It made it look a lot more festive to have more gifts under the tree. I was delighted to have something wrapped under the tree for us parents. I felt sad that I couldn't gift hubby anything, so this was the next best thing given the circumstances. We didn't expect much, but the mystery and excitement of what they could be added a little Christmas magic for us. The gift for hubby and I from the charity was our only gifts that year. The day finally came. It was time to unwrap. Hubby got a men's toiletry set. I got a little pamper set. Well, the packaging said it was filled with bath salts and lotions, but it was empty. Yup, an empty box. Someone had either donated it to Charity Empty, or a volunteer took the products out. Either way, the charity didn't check to see if the stuff they wrapped actually were okay. I was so absolutely devastated but faked delight for the kids about the pretty box it came in. I didn't expect much, but that was nasty. What a way to kick a family when they're down. Story 13. My ex-husband got me Pyrex portable dishes. Seemed fine. Until the day after Christmas when I went to the bank and discovered those were the free gift when you opened a checking account. Turns out he opened a secret account too. Wasn't that sly? Story 14. From my girlfriend's grandparents, I was 17, 18 at the time, they bought me a toy magnet. Not even a decent strength magnet, but one of those ones that are 99 in plastic in the shape of a horseshoe, with the remaining one foot consisting of a tiny little bar magnet at each end. This thing didn't even have enough magnetism to pick up a single paperclip. Story 15. This is actually a fantastic gift, but I think with context you'll understand why it sucked. A skateboard. When I was about 12 years old, my dad, who I saw a few times a year, bought me a skateboard after I had expressed mild interest. I think I had admired a certain skateboarder and said it looked fun. I don't remember ever saying I wanted to pursue it myself or asking for one. I am notorious in my family for having poor balance and coordination, and I have virtually no depth perception. He knew how to skateboard, but he lived almost 9 hours away, and I saw him a few times a year because he worked and had 5 kids with his new wife where they lived. So he couldn't really give me lessons. No one else in my family could skate. We didn't live anywhere near a skate park, and there was no one older than me in our neighborhood who could mentor me. I lived with my grandparents, one of whom worked full-time out of town, and the other thought skateboarding was a horrible idea. So I just had this board that I couldn't really do anything with. I tried to teach myself, but with poor balance, coordination, and depth perception already, I never even managed to stay on the board without holding on to something. It was such an embarrassing gift because it was a reminder of how my dad wasn't in my life, knew little to nothing about my interests, and how crappy my brain and body worked together. I was undiagnosed autistic. To add, it really sucked even more when he later taught my stepbrother and little brothers, who lived with him, to skateboard, and put my little sister in ballet classes like I always wanted but was too uncoordinated for. Story 16. An omelets pan to make my husband an omelets on Sunday morning for my mother-in-law for my first Xmas in their family. She died the year after, and we divorced after 13 years because he cheated. Good riddance to all of those nut bars. Story 17. I got perfume samples, the kind you find embedded in the pages of magazines, and 2 99C cans of shaving cream. My stepmonster was irritated I wasn't more appreciative of her practical gifts. My stepsister got a horse. Story 18. I got a shirt from one of my aunts. It was a short-sleeve flannel shirt with a sweatshirt hood on it. She thought it was perfect for me because she thought that I wore ugly clothes. Story 19. One of my coworkers was given a large bag of pistachios. He was my secret Santa and gave me a snack bag size of pistachios a week later at the company meeting. Story 20. Any gift from my insane mom. The gifts themselves were spot on because my dad did the shopping, but my mom would cry and sob the whole time, saying, "I just know you hate it," and freaking out because we didn't love her. She was right about that. To this day, I have a hatred phobia of opening presents, but I'm super positive about Christmas for other people. Story 21. I was 5. My grandmother got me a solar-powered hand crank radio. I didn't have any interest in the radio. I had no interest in letting it charge in the sun. I had no interest in cranking it. Worst part is my cousin and I are 2 months apart in age. We always go the same gifts from our grandma, and they were always so strange. Now we send each other strange Christmas gifts each year in her honor. Story 22. As a freshman, I lettered in tennis in the spring. The next fall, my sophomore year, when they came around taking orders for a Letterman jacket, my parents and grandparents split the cost 50-50 so I could get one for my big Christmas present that year. They only ordered Letterman jackets in one big batch each fall, so I was really excited to get one. Our school colors are red and white with black as the accent. The girl version was a red body with white leather sleeves. The boy version was red body with black leather sleeves. While I'm female, I much preferred the red-black combination, so when I filled out the paperwork, that's what I picked. My parents sent a check to school with me to turn in after I filled out the application, so they didn't see the paperwork. When it arrived in all of its awesome glory, It was beautiful. I needed to get a ride to the district building to pick mine up, but my brother heard from someone else that only the boy jackets had arrived, and the girl jackets were delayed by a week or so. Since I got the call to pick it up, he told my parents I had ordered a boy jacket. My older brother made such a huge stink about how everyone in school would think I was faking having a boyfriend because I was wearing a boys Letterman jacket, and how it would be hugely inappropriate. So my parents called the district and refused to pick it up, saying I got confused and ordered the wrong one. They made them send it back and redo it in appropriate colors. So that year for Christmas, I got a Letterman jacket that is impossible to keep clean, and a lesson in how my parents valued my brother's opinion over mine. My mom apologized years later after I explained how invalidating it is to say I love red, black, and I want this, but hey, your brother says you can't, so we think his opinion is more valuable than yours. Even the dry cleaners told Mom they hated the white leather sleeves because after 1 or 2 cleanings, they just stay a dingy white-gray color. Mom said they were trying to protect me from being made fun of at school, but yeah, it still hurts that they didn't value me or what I wanted. For clarification for anyone not familiar, to letter in tennis or any sport means I qualified for and played in the state tournament. At that time, in our small rural town, to letter in sports was a big deal. There was a banquet, an award ceremony, a presentation of the letter plaque ceremony, the whole 9 yards. Wearing a Letterman jacket at school or out in the community showed what you had accomplished and was a badge of honor. Story 23. How about what I did not receive? If anyone remembers aqua sand, you could put the sand in water and take it out and it would be dry. You'd use it to basically sculpt ill things in the water. Looking back, it was dumb, but I wanted a specific kit so bad. It had penguins and crap, and 9-year-old me loved it. My twin sister got it for Christmas. I don't even remember what I got. Story 24. My ex-husband was 15 and went for his first Christmas with his crafty father, new stepmother, and her 2 sons. His dad says, speaking to the 3 boys, "Come out to the garage for your big Christmas present." And there were 2 off-road motorcycles, one for each of her boys, but nothing for him. This pattern repeated throughout the years. I hated his father from day 1. Story 25. A pack of all yellow highlighters, which I was gifted because I like art. I was a little kid and my great aunt was well-meaning but losing her marbles. Story 26. This was the first year that DVDs were out, and I was slowly building up a collection and replacing my VHS tapes. It was also the year that my family switched from everyone getting everyone something small to swapping names and getting one person a sizable gift. I got my then new sister-in-law, and she got me. I asked her mother, brothers, and friends what she liked and got her a Monet calendar that came with a picture frame and backing board so you could trim the pages and hang them as a changeable art, and a crystal dolphin. She cried when she opened it. I wasn't expecting much in return, as both she and my brother were unemployed, but in the woods of Dewey, from Malcolm in the Middle, I expect nothing and I'm still let down. I got a DVD, just what I was hoping for, but it was Chains of Gold, starring John Travolta and Marilu Henner. I'm guessing almost no one had ever heard of this. It has a solid 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb. I would be okay with this, as it would at least be a movie I hadn't seen before, and I have a soft spot for bad movies, except for one thing. As soon as I opened it, she screeched, "This is the worst movie I've ever seen! We bought a DVD player and watched it last night. I got it at the dollar store, and it was on sale for 60 cents. So, my one family gift that year was a used copy of a bad movie that they got very cheap and watched before giving me the gift. And to add insult to injury, they paid less than $1. My brother tried apologizing because he didn't realize this was supposed to be my gift. And if he had known, he wouldn't have bought the DVD player, but I told him not to worry about it. That movie is still on my shelf, unwatched. It will remain that way. A reminder of what my now ex-Sil thought was a good present. May she rest in peace. My mom silently reinstated giving each one of her kids and their spouses a gift the next year. For context, my favorite gift of all time was when my mom gave me a shoebox with a written U for a set of ice skates. I had a growth spurt shortly after and got very adolescent clumsy for a few years, so if I had got the skates, I wouldn't have had much use for them. This gift was truly the thought that counts, and I think about it all the time as the best feeling, having been seen and acknowledged for my interest at a time when I otherwise felt invisible. Story 27. My grandma knew I loved cartoons and animation, and my uncle, who loved Family Guy, knew I hated Family Guy with a passion. So he told Grandma since I was an adult and loved animation that she should get me some Family Guy PJs. I could not contain the loathing I felt opening them and seeing Peter Griffin looking at me and my grandma waiting for me to cheer like I have been all night. Turns out my uncle did that to get 2 presents from Grandma that year, because he knew I would hate it and not want them, so he took them. Story 28. We did a white elephant gift exchange thing growing up. My family would do it every year instead of having to buy a ton of gifts for the family. So all the adults would buy one gift and extras so the kids could each get one gift each as well. I was 13, 14 at the time, and I got Dr. Pepper chapstick and a big toy wooden pencil. It's funny now, but back then, seeing my brothers and sister get money, it was devastating. Story 29. I spent 1 year with my dad and new stepmom. They just had a baby and had said we were all going to bed after the Christmas Eve party and waking up in the morning to open presents. I was 18 at the time and felt out of place with all of the stepmom's family there whom I barely knew. Presents start getting handed around and I see everyone getting new clothes, younger siblings, new toys, gift cards. My dad had asked me what I wanted ahead of time, and I just said books because that's all I read. And he hinted at getting me a Barnes & Noble gift card. I thought that was very sweet, as he's not a big reader, but always encouraged me to read. The only present I got was a long sleeve, blue shirt thrown into a bag. No card, no name on it, just, "This is yours." And the shirt clearly couldn't fit me. I was the one person who didn't get anything, and everyone else had piles of presents. I started crying because everyone was sitting there, staring, and some kind soul berated my stepmom and dad for leaving me out of the festivities. I got called selfish and told to go into my room since I was ruining the mood for everyone. Found out a week later my dad has been out shopping for presents for me and my other siblings, and the stepmom told him not to reward me with anything extravagant. She didn't want me getting any presents to prove some kind of point, no damn clue what. And when my dad argued with her, threw a fit. She bragged about this in front of me and my brothers, and I was just shocked. My mom was furious and rained hellfire on her. And another family member from the stepmom's side, an uncle if I recall, sent me a card with a bunch of money in it and a gift card to a restaurant. Socks would have been fine, sleepwear, etc. But the fact she took such joy embarrassing me in front of a room full of strangers was really heartbreaking. This is also the same woman who insisted to my dad they should sneak out to go to Disneyland for a week without telling me. My dad is longer with her, thank God. He yelled at her for always alienating me and his other children. Story 30. When we were all in our 20s, my dad gifted my brothers and I each a mug that he took out of his stuffed storage room. They were from his old jobs in the 80s or 90s, and he included a typed-up Wikipedia page about the companies that didn't even exist anymore. They were extremely ugly mugs, too. It wasn't like, "This is what I used to do for work." It was like, "This company was founded in 1950. It went into the back of the cupboard until we moved, then into the trash." Oh, another gem from him. He gave me my husband and I knitted toques with pom-poms. My husband's was actually pretty decent, but mine was an ugly lavender, and the pom was hanging by a thread. He said to me, "You know how to sew and could fix it, couldn't you?" They were clearly from a clearance rack that was probably on the way out of a grocery store or something. For some dumb reason, I still have the toque, but never worn or fixed it. Maybe I'll pull it back to yarn and make something else with it. I went no contact with him when my daughter turned 1 year. For her second B-Day, he breached that, came through our backyard to drop off her gift, which included a pack of dark chocolate chips and a printout of a flyer that showed that cookie dough was on sale. My husband reminded me that it wasn't a picture of a flyer. It was a printed picture that my dad had taken of the price tag showing the sale price while he had been in some grocery store. He did the same for her cousin born same day. He asked in the card for a photo of her baking. We did not respond because of no contact. And again, for some reason, we still have those chocolate chips, even though no one in our house likes dark chocolate. I'm bad at throwing the crap out he gives me, because I always wished we had a better relationship, but he never listens or respects boundaries or does anything that's not convenient to him. I'm considering the possibility that he may be undiagnosed autistic or ADHD, though my mom swears he's a narc, and trying to figure out how I would handle navigating that if I was to reconnect. I should add that he is not poor, though he has always been very stingy with money. He literally is a financial planner. Story 31. We were pretty poor growing up and my dad got injured on the job. It was the first Xmas since the injury settlement, and my parents were having a new 2-story house built with a chunk of the money. I was 12 at the time, and all I wanted and asked for was a guitar. I knew guitars were expensive, so I asked it to be my only gift. Christmas morning, my little brother and sister start opening gifts, nice toys, games, etc. My first gift was a single washcloth. Second gift was a single towel. Next was a shower curtain. My mom had used Christmas to redecorate the bathroom for the new home and wrapped each item and just put my name on it. After the third washcloth, I stopped opening gifts and asked if they got me a guitar. They said no because you'll just get bored of it. I asked if I could exchange the bathroom stuff to buy myself some games of something. I was called ungrateful and hard to shop for. I ended up using my college money to buy a guitar a few months later, and my parents refused to buy me any more gifts for birthdays or Xmas because of the incident, so they just give me a card or cash. This was 30 years ago, and they still refused to buy me gifts. I now teach guitar to kids for free and have made a lot of friends playing in bands. Story 32. Not me, but my cousins, sisters aged about 5 and 8, got a small bottle of Johnson's baby powder as a joint gift from their great aunt, SMH. It just smacks of, she's old, rusty. She and Uncle Lewis don't have a lot of money, so she takes things from around the house and wraps them up. Story 33. Me, stepladder. Brother at 5 years old. He loved sweaters. Opened a box from aunt, who was a great knitter. Very excited until he lifted sweater, found out it was a vest. Where are my sleeves? Poor kid cried hysterically. Story 34. Towards the bottom of my Christmas list, I wrote Nelly CD. My sister and I were big-time snoopers and would find most of our gifts scattered throughout the house, other than the big ones, which to this day I'm not sure how my mom pulled off hiding them. Well, we happened to find a Nelly CD hidden in a laundry room cabinet, but it was a CD by pop singer Nelly Furtado instead of the intended CD by rapper Nelly. In the days leading up to Christmas, I felt annoyed, and being a kid, I couldn't hide my disappointment upon opening it on Christmas Day either. My mom took ownership of the CD, and it featured heavily into the family car music rotation and played during all of our family trips, with my sister and I mocking my mom's blunder and mocking all the songs, especially I'm Like a Bird, all the while. Meanwhile, we both secretly liked the CD, and Nelly Furtado really blew up a few years later. Story 35. A Ziploc bag of Muddy Buddies with fruit flies all over them. A bag of tortilla chips. They were stale. Another Ziploc bag filled with nail polishes, all old and separating. Those were all the same person. A GF at the time was yelling at me about giving her a stupid and thoughtless gift, before tossing their gift at me and stomping away. They gave me a book, a beaten-up used book. I know it was used because I was the original owner of the book and had lent it to her months before. Story 36. Worst gift I ever got was this year, actually. 100 and a bunch of stress. For context, my ex and I recently broke up, but we're still living together for the moment. My mom texted me asking if my ex gave me and our kid our Xmas money. I replied that my ex said my son just got a gift card. My mom told me the box she sent had 150 for each of us. The gift card, candy for the boy, and a calendar for all of us. I confronted my ex about it, and it was like pulling teeth to get an answer. The end result was the $450 being spent on. $60 for my ex and our son to go out to eat, $90 worth of groceries for our son from Dollar Tree, $100 to cover a fraudulent overdraft charge instead of, calling the bank and reporting it, $200 at the dispensary. What about the candy? Oh, I gave it to him. Son said he never got it. What about the calendar? What calendar? My mom and I were both pissed. My ex kind of shrugged it off like, it's done, there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like I was going to spend my money on fun stuff. I was going to use it to pay bills that we're behind on. Yet, my ex saw no issue with spending everything irresponsibly. Story 37. I dated a guy in college for almost 6 months who was really into Civil War history. I bought an old Confederate dollar bill on eBay, went to Michael's for some cheap fabric backing and a frame, framed it myself, wrapped it and tied a ribbon around to make a bow. He gave me a seashell from his family beach trip over the summer, from before we had met, so it wasn't like, oh, I found this seashell and thought of you. It was just something he already had knocking about in the back of his closet. Dude was from a wealthy family, and he threw money around like it was nothing, but he couldn't even be bothered to put the seashell in a gift bag. I broke up with him the next day. Story 38, a toothbrush. But here's the rest of it. When we were kids, me, my 2 younger brothers, always got toothbrushes for a stocking stuffer. One year we opened ours and ran into the bathroom to change our old ones out. Cue my youngest brother and me reaching for the same toothbrush. We looked at each other with horror. We'd been unknowingly using the same toothbrush as the other for months. Story 39. Me and my sister have a competition to try and get each other the strangest gifts we can. They invariably end up being the worst gifts, but are fun regardless. Probably not what you meant by worst gift, but I'll share anyway. I think the ones of note for me are still the nativity scene she replaced with plastic dinosaurs, or the box of chocolates replaced with ABC gum. My favorite I've given to her is either the lifetime supply of straws, just roughly 10,000 or so straws stolen from every fast food place within a 100-mile radius of me, or the year I got her the street sign that said she was adopted on it. This year I'm going to make her a hanging ornament that's just 20 or so shakers filled with glitter attached to a coat hanger. She's going to love it. Story 40. My boyfriend got me a scale once. For context, we had been together for nearly 6 years, and then every Christmas before that, he had given me a gift card to a store where I was supposed to go and buy underwear. That Christmas, when I saw that he had gotten me an actual thing, I was so excited. Unwrapping the gift to find that it was a scale really knocked the wind out of my sails. I spent the entire weekend crying and being prissy. His reasoning behind the gift was that he had seen me using the scale in his bathroom to weigh myself, and he thought it would be nice for me to have my own. So he decided to get me my own scale and give it to me for Christmas. When I had calmed down, I had a discussion with him where I was able to make him understand that regardless of his intention, receiving a scale as a Christmas gift really hurt my feelings, and I wanted a do-over gift that was, actually a gift. We went to the mall, and together we picked out a beautiful necklace. It's been 3 years since the incident, and we're still together. At the time, I thought I would never get over how hurt I felt. Now we both look back and laugh at it. It honestly kind of warms my heart, because it's an example of how we were able to use communication to solve a problem and move past it. Story 41. Nothing. One year, we were pretty poor due to my mother's insane spending habits. But she managed to scrounge up enough cash to get my little sisters and little brother a few things. I, however, had nothing under the tree and nothing in the stocking. My mom just acted like it wasn't a big deal, and I should be happy I still had a roof over my head. I was 12. At the family dinner later, my mother had a new one ripped into her by my grandmother when I was asked what I got. So maybe I did get a little something. Story 42, 2007. First Christmas as an adult where I have a boyfriend. I got him some decent presents. I hand them to him thinking he's gotten his for me hidden somewhere. He turns to me and says, "Remember how I upgraded you laptop with better RAM? Merry Christmas." Not something I cared about or needed in the slightest. 2006, new boyfriend. I tell him about my crappy Christmas present the year before and that I just want something to open. I should have been more specific. The night before Christmas, he asked to borrow my wrapping paper and some boxes. I was kind of miffed that I had to supply my own boxes and wrapping paper, but at least he got me something, or so I thought. Christmas morning comes around, and he has a huge ass box for me, which I proceed on open. A smaller box, inside of the smaller box, and so on until I got to a ducking pill bottle. On the pill bottle was the following $100 gift card to Glamour Shots. Story 43. Worst was a present that never showed up. They told me, "It's on the way," they being the people who were the givers. Never saw that present. But the worst present I received was a special homemade organic bar of soap. It lasted one showed and fell apart in the beginning of shower number 2 from the same person. Story 44. I had asked my boyfriend of 4 years for a nice, not cheap, but certainly not expensive digital camera. This was Christmas '07. I researched the kind I wanted, priced it out, told him all about it. On Christmas Day, he hands me my gift and I excitedly open it to find a camcorder. He says, "So we can record concerts and stuff." He spent more money on a camcorder that would never make it into a concert without getting taken by security than the camera I had been talking to him about for a few months. We ended up breaking up 8 days later, not due to the camcorder, but I realized he didn't listen to me or take my opinion into account for the 4 years we had been together. I guess ultimately, it was a great gift because it opened my eyes to a lot of crafty things he was doing. Story 45. Collection of hotel toiletries, but they're Louis Vuitton, and a loaf of sourdough bread with a tin of tuna, all in the same year, from my husband's family. The only person who was happy that night was the cat. He likes tuna. Story 46. A 12-pack of Cliff Bars, from my now ex-wife, that she picked up on Christmas Eve from the grocery store. Wrote my name on the box with a Sharpie, and didn't even wrap it. I don't care about getting stuff for Christmas, but I started a new job about 4 months prior, and went all out. Bought her a new laptop, and my son a Switch, which at the time just released. I bought the Christmas supper, a few outings to see Christmas lights, stocking stuffers, and all the other stuff for Christmas. Aside from constantly reminding me that we needed to make the holiday special, she did nothing. A little appreciation for all the work would have been nice. She bought my son a few gifts. That was it. Everything else was me. Then when the Christmas family calls came in that day, she joked about how I must have been naughty because there was nothing under the tree for me. Those Cliff Bars sat in the pantry unopened for 2 years. She got mad that I wouldn't eat them and eventually threw them out when the box expired, which got a huge argument over my lack of appreciation for the gift she bought. She didn't lack for money as I paid the mortgage, and she had a job that paid more than mine, even with the new job pay raise. Story 47. My brother-in-law for 3 years in a row now gets me these desk toys. They're almost like fidget toys, things to pass the time while at work. And he doesn't even get me one or two. He gets me a whole box full of them. I have no idea how or why this started. I always just say thank you and immediately put them in the box to donate. Story 48. Nothing. There were several times when I got nothing or my gift was a dud and returned to the store, but never replaced with something else. Like when the iPad was first released and other brands created their own version of the device. My parents bought me a tablet off QVC. The product demo showed that it was practically identical to an iPad, and that you could do anything you would do with an iPad with this tablet. I think they got it for like $80, so it was obviously a cheap knockoff and not at all like an iPad. After I had opened it and my dad was messing around with it to check it out, he thought it was a waste of money and sent it back for a refund, but I didn't get the money or a replacement gift. Nor did they get me anything a few weeks later for my birthday in January. Also, when I was like 7, my grandparents got me a boombox. And I made the comment that I didn't really like music, so I got a boombox, a beating, and a lecture to shame me. After that Christmas, I would sneakily unwrap my presents at home so that I would know what I got and then rewrap them exactly like they were. I would also check my mom's email for emailed verifications from stores. I guess so that I could practice being surprised and grateful for getting the things I didn't ask for. Story 49. It was the presents as a whole, rather than one specific bad present. Background. I was about 10 at the time. My stepdad at the time was a habitual liar and also worried about appearances. Our family was poor. Not starving, but very little money for extras. So we had a fair number of gifts under the tree that year. I was kind of excited. I was not expecting any big ticket items. Again, family on a budget. But it was cool. There were a bit more gifts than usual. Also, this was ballpark 1970, so nobody was expecting a new Xbox or cell phone. Anyway, the worst part is when we actually opened gifts, turns out almost all of them were just our own used stuff from around the house my Get stepdad had wrapped up, so visitors would see a lot of presents under the tree. He tried to laugh it off as being a goodwill Christmas, but it was obvious what he had done and I hated that he did it. I would rather have one or two modest real gifts than unwrap a bunch of my own belonging. Don't be that kind of parent. Kids remember stuff like this. 50 plus years later, it still pisses me off when I type about it. Story 50. I don't drink coffee. My now ex-partner didn't drink coffee either. My now ex-mother-in-law knew this. She knew this because every time she came over, she would complain that we didn't offer her any coffee, and we would explain that since neither of us drink coffee, we didn't have coffee. Well, one Christmas she gave me a coffee maker, Story 51. I was the adopted kid, so I always low-key got the bad end of the stick. But Christmas 9 years ago was the worst. My grandparents were loaded, and my parents, not so much. My parents told me they couldn't afford to keep me on a phone plan, and come to find out, it was because they were on my grandparents' phone plan. I really wanted an iPhone 6, so I would finally have a reliable phone when I was working, driving, etc., and I was willing to pay my part of the monthly bill. I just needed someone to buy it for me, because at 16, I couldn't get it on my own. So Christmas comes around, and I got a small box wrapped up, and it was an iPhone 6 box. And I was so excited I started screaming and hugging my grandparents. So I ripped it open, and inside was a note that said, "Never judge a book by its cover." I didn't cry that day, but I cried for weeks following. My grandpa recorded it and posted it on Facebook, and still, 9 years later, shares it every Christmas for people to laugh at. I don't remember anything else I got for that Christmas, but I do remember my cousins getting a lot of really great stuff from their list that year. It still upsets me, but that's okay. Story 52. When I was about 10, all I wanted was a VCR. Asked for it all year. My hateful grandmother, who raised me, put a bedspread in a VCR box. I'm 47 now, but I'll never forget it. Story 53. That would be the pair of Christmas socks where they claimed one sock was for Christmas and one for my birthday while laughing hysterically. My birthday is the 24th. A runner-up to worst gift was a rubber band ball. I was 16, and it wasn't a gag gift. Tied in place with the book I gave my mom, 2 years later, re-gifted to me, as she said she didn't want it, and if I didn't either, to just throw it away. It was a memory book. I canceled my birthday and only started recently doing holidays again for my kid, Story 54. I was a 13-year-old with a lot of self-esteem issues and didn't like to be photographed much. In comes my eccentric aunt, who had decided that instead of buying gifts this year, she would give us painting, which honestly could have been awesome, but she decided to do portraits of us. My sister's was relatively normal, so I was excited to get mine. Was an art kid. I got the ugliest painting of me I've ever seen. I have no idea why she thought it was a good idea to do an overly realistic close-up of my face with my tongue completely out, still hyper-realistic, mouth open, crinkled eyes, rock and roll hand sign with my childish face and hair. I saw it and tired to be nice, but the more I looked, the more upset I got. I was devastated. I didn't like how I looked, but I'd never seen myself portrayed this ugly. I ended up crying and running from the room, too embarrassed to back and face any of them. Never really forgave her, but I understand now that she wasn't malicious or intended to hurt me. Also, my mother's and grandpa's were even worse, which didn't help. Story 55. Medical green linen pants. The kind old ladies wear. I was like 14, 15 or so, I believe. Was forced to attend Christmas dinner with my family, and that's what they had gotten me. I didn't ask for anything and wasn't sure why everyone insisted I go. Sat around watching my cousins and everyone else open Xboxes and expensive jackets and stuff. Sole reason that I don't open gifts I receive until after everyone has left my house now. My brother's the same way. We will just wait. We only have each other left because the rest of our family has died except our maternal GMA, except his dad who doesn't talk to us, and cousins who don't come around. And she gives us our gift cards early in the month because she lives 3 hours away. We wait until after Christmas to distribute the gift cards to ourselves and our children, though, and buy what we want. But otherwise, if our spouses insist on inviting family over or friends drop gifts off, we thank them and then get sidetracked tending to food or something else until everyone is gone and then open whatever was given to us. IDK his reasons, but those pants were my reason. Story 56. My ex was the absolute worst gift giver. One birthday, I received a $60 milk frothier. Neither of us drink milk. ETA another birthday gift. A custom license plate with a fish on it. But the best worst gift? A box covered in assorted Christmas wrapping paper scraps and with one of the bulb ornaments from the tree taped on top. Inside was one lime green bath towel and a Glock. I know people say, it's the thought that counts, but I think that assumes the thought count itself is greater than Zero LeMayo Story 57. I was in debate my freshman year. It was a blended grade class. The teacher arranged an optional Secret Santa for the class. One of the seniors got my name. Exchange day comes around and I get a $20 gift card to Starbucks. Cool, he didn't know me that well, so a gift card was fine. At the time, I'd never had Starbucks, so I was happy to try it. Went to get something and found out there was $2.73 left on the card. He literally just gave me his used gift card. Idiot. Story 58. A blouse my meal pulled out of her closet. I made her squirm by asking for the receipt so I could exchange it for a different size. She said she must have misplaced it. Karen. Story 59. A purple polyester pantsuit when I was 15. It looked like it was for a 50-year-old woman. No offense to 50-year-old women. This was in the mid-70s. What was the worst gift you received for Christmas? Story 1. My divorced parents pooled their money to buy me a Game Boy Color. The problem was they'd already got me a Game Boy Color, but I guess they didn't understand that it was the same one and thought it was new. They both looked so excited as I opened it, I didn't have the heart to tell them. So I just kept playing my one game on my new Game Boy Color. Story 2. When I still lived with my parents, they got me a Cards Against Humanity deck. Right after I opened it, they told me I'm not allowed to play it until I turned 18. I was 15 at the time. Story 3. I'm going to answer for my sister. When I was about 5, making her 9, our uncle, aunt, cousin family asked me what my sister liked. I had no idea. All I knew was she liked to yell at me. So I dumbly replied, she liked hair ties. For Christmas that year, my sister received an assortment of an insanely high number, like 200 different high ties, scrunches, etc. She didn't let me live that down for a long time. Story 4. When I was 15, I really wanted a dog. My mom knew this. Cue Christmas morning. After we had opened any other presents, my mom came back with one last one. It was a wrapped box with holes in the sides bouncing, moving some, and puppy barks of cuteness. I got so excited to open it and meet my new best friend. When I opened it, it had a stuffed animal puppy, not taxidermized, a bumbleball toy, and a small tape recorder with puppy barks. My heart sank and I just sat there and cried. Story 5. My mom rarely cared what gift we might actually want or what our personal tastes were, and most often she would select a gift based on her own personal tastes. In the late 80s, she decided to buy me a stereo as the main large gift for whatever reason, and she selected a Fisher-Price, the children's toy brand, turntable record player. This is after CD players were invented, and of course, nobody played records anymore. The worst part was that she decided to treat this stereo as some sophisticated equipment that was too good for a child to play with. So after Christmas, she stored it in its original box in our attic where it has remained until this day. It was supposed to just be stored there until some arbitrary time, but my mom is a huge procrastinator, and that time never came. I'm still salty that she wasted all the money on that stupid gift rather than on something I might have enjoyed and actually got to use. Story 6. My mom took me to her boyfriend's family Christmas party in rural Michigan once. Someone gave me the year in Clemson football, 1993. It was very nice that someone thought enough to give me a gift, but 9-year-old me really struggled with the logic behind the purchase. Story 7. We had a Secret Santa with the whole family, and everyone usually goes a bit overboard, even though it's supposed to be a relaxed thing. One year, my uncle from California was able to make it, and we included them. His wife wanted all her kids to be added as well, so they would revive something. One of her kids ended up drawing my name for it, and when she gave me my gift on behalf of them, she bought me a $5 lead pencil and pen, and another of her kids drew my mom's name. And then she said, oops, I didn't get you anything yet. I thought it was supposed to be done on New Year's Eve. While her kids got giant dollhouses and trikes, Story 8. It was the first Christmas my father and current stepmother had together. My step-siblings each got a new laptop computer. I got a $20 gift card to McDonald's. Redundant word. I guess I should provide a bit more detail on this situation. I like my current stepmother way more than I like my dad. Earlier that year, my previous stepmom Dad's wife number 3, my mother was number 2, screwed my dad over royally and put him tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And he wanted to impress her by gifting nice crap to her kids. He didn't have enough money to treat us all to nice electronics. I have 2 sisters, so we 3 were just an afterthought. Young me thought it was bullcrap, and more resentment towards him was added to the pile. But as I got older, I can kind of see what he was trying to do. It was just really crafty execution on his part. Story 9. When I was 13, I was taking drum lessons and was desperate for my own kit. My mom worked at the Early Learning Center, preschool-age kids shop for non-UK chaps. Mom and Dad got me this little plastic toy drum and made me play a tune on it. I tried my best not to look upset. I failed and stopped just short of bursting into tears. Turned out to be a sick joke. The drums were wrapped up in the dining room. Story 10. My parents got me an acoustic guitar one Christmas. Problem, my brother was the one who asked for a guitar, not me. So essentially my Christmas present was seeing my brother absolutely gutted. Meanwhile, I had to pretend I was happy. Awkward. Update. I shared the guitar with my brother while I pretended to enjoy learning to play it. This lasted for about a month before I let my bro completely take over the guitar. He got his own electric guitar that same year for his birthday, took guitar lessons, joined a band, the whole shebang. He still plays to this day, 17 years later. Me? I hate playing guitar. Hurts my fingers. Story 11. I grew up really poor and received some batteries for an old toy car I already had. Looking back at it, it's kind of funny, but I remember crying when that happened. I was 7, story 12. Grandma got me a pair of jeans that were way too small, with a card that read, "Lose some weight, then maybe you will fit into these." I was beyond furious, and our relationship was never the same. I didn't shed a tear when she passed away. Story 13. Piles and piles and piles of Star Trek tots when I was like 10 or something. Star Trek action figures, Star Trek micro machines, die-cast Star Trek ships, Star Trek puzzles, Star Trek toys, Star Trek everything. I asked for Star Wars toys. Story 14. My non-favorite grandparents once gave me a Peter Parker doll when I was like 17. I mean a doll too. I could undress him if I so pleased. He didn't come with a Spidey costume either, haha. Story 15. Every year my mom would take us all to Dollar Tree to buy one gift for each member of the family. At the time, there was 5 of us kids plus mom and dad, so we would get 5 to 6 presents, all worth $1 each. Christmas, we would sit around and take turns opening them. Eventually, this would turn into gags as we got older. One year, I thought it would be a funny idea to give my brother and brother-in-law a crafty can of beef stew. My brother-in-law was so pissed off. He was a serious fellow. At first, I didn't know why and was in shock. I didn't think a can of soup was that bad. Turns out my git bought them Gravy Train a can of dog food, which turned out to be hilarious to everyone else who were mocking me. My brother and I took it a step further though and decided we would try a few bites. It was the most awful thing ever. Wet, slimy chunks of pureed grit that makes me gag thinking about it. But we were tough and could not show our disgust to the other. When my sister first got married, to the serious fellow, we each got her pregnancy tests, which turned out pretty fun. All of our gifts we could have perceived to be the worst. Honestly, it did suck sometimes seeing kids at school with iPod. None were great. Most were thrown away or broken minutes after receiving them. We were poor. What started out as a $20 Christmas for mom and dad has created years of fun memories. Story 16. Growing up, my mom was either amazing at holidays, birthdays, etc., or scary. One year, when I was about 13, she was particularly scary. We didn't have a tree, no decorations were up, nothing. We were all too afraid to say anything in case one of us set her off, until my dad got pissed at her, went and bought a tree, and told us to decorate it however we wanted. He helped us with the lights and star, while my mom sulked in her room. Christmas Eve came, and under the tree were these large, bulky-looking presents. We were all excited to open them, because we got one present to open Christmas Eve, and we knew there was no way those were pajamas. We all opened them excited to find huge lumps of coal. My youngest siblings began to cry. My dad sent all of us downstairs to watch Christmas movies on TV and locked himself and my mom in their bedroom. It was muffled, but that is honestly the only time I remember my dad ever screaming at my mother. Afterward, he came downstairs and calmed my younger siblings down, reassured them that they had been good and Santa would still come. After the kids had gone to bed, my dad called me upstairs and asked me to help him wrap all the presents, except mine. The next morning, my mom was up early, made us cinnamon rolls, hers are the best I've ever had, and acted as if nothing had happened. I don't know exactly what my dad said, but she was never that bad again, even though there were a few times she came close. Years later, she finally agreed to see someone about it, and they diagnosed her as manic depressive. The doctor said that stress had triggered her, and honestly, that had been a stressful year for our family. Since she was treated, she's been the most amazing mother and grandmother ever, and it makes me sad she didn't get help sooner. We would have had the most amazing childhoods, and luckily my nephews and nieces got to have this version of my mom, instead of what we had. Story 17. My grandmother was a piece of work. One year, myself and my two cousins were at her house for Christmas morning. All the family was there, and there was a big, gorgeous pile of presents wrapped in the corner. Me and my cousins, were promptly told that those gifts were for the other grandchildren. When we gave our grandma the blank stare of confused children, she hurried back into her room, threw an old Ziploc bag down at the ground between us, full of half-used nail polish and broken jewelry, and told us Merry Christmas. Story 18. A record player that only worked for 2 weeks. I knew I was getting it since November. I didn't want nor need it, but I accepted it to be nice. It was kind of funny because my parents trolled me by spreading out the records in boxes of different shapes and sizes. Story 19. Christmas came 4 months after my mother's died. My father was addicted to painkillers in his depression from his loss, in addition to a history of being an alcoholic. He was an avid coin collector, and as very young children, we would enthusiastically help sort his pocket change and look for rare coins or dates that we knew could have flaws that would be worth money. I suppose he thought as teenagers, we still had a passion for coin collecting like he did. Even though I assure you, as teenagers, we couldn't care less. As children, it was just about spending time with him, not about the coins. Long story short, he bought us some commemorative and collectible coins and not much else for Christmas that year. I tried to be excited for his sake, but I'm not sure he was convinced. That was the last year we got gifts for Christmas. After that, it was just a card with money until we came of age, and then no gifts at all. And just to ease the hearts and minds of everyone in this thread, I didn't cut my father out of my life because of one failed Christmas as a teenager. So stop worrying. I will absolutely be calling him for Father's Day. Story 20. When I was 5 or 6, I gave my brother his own teddy bear. I wanted to give him something I knew he'd love. So a week before Christmas, I hid his favorite bear and wrapped it up. He was upset that he couldn't find his bear, but even more upset on Christmas when he realized the reason he couldn't find his bear was because his dumbass brother thought it would make a good Christmas present. Story 21. My mother is terrible at gift giving. She shops for others with herself in mind, not them, so everyone gets crap she likes, but they don't. Or she buys it in March and then can't find it come December, and your gift is her telling you that's what happened. Or she'll buy, say, a book trilogy in an art box, and she'll give each book one holiday at a time, then the final gift will be the box. As I grew older, I started seeing this. I never got anything that I specifically asked for, possibly a close approximate at best. I figured it was because nothing I asked for interested her, so I tried something. I asked for something that she would be into. I asked for a Bible. I specified the brand, the translation, hardback, paperback, and the book cover, including the color scheme. I got exactly what I asked for, down to the last detail. I kept it as a reminder of what not to do to my kids. Story 22. Well, I don't celebrate Christmas, but the worst gift I've gotten was from my mother's parents. Now, to set the stage, they were extremely critical people, and if you told them the sky was blue, they'd tell you you were wrong and horrible for thinking that. They had a way of making you feel like you were only an inch tall, without ever raising their voices. My sister and I would actively hide when they came to visit. Anyway, for every birthday and Hanukkah, my sister and I would get cards with $1 inside and telling us that they put money in our account. No, this wasn't a bank account my parents started. This was an account that they started for us, but which we had zero access to until we were 18. When I finally turned 18, I was excited. I'd finally have access to this mythical bank account. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was disappointingly small. As in, they likely only put $5 in each time that they sent us the one bill. Definitely was not worth the wait. Story 23. A couple years ago, my dad registered me to see a few of my favorite shows taped in New York. I got super excited about it, but then realized that he wouldn't be paying for anything and expected me to stay with my narcissistic grandma in New Jersey, who I avoid as much as possible. Then, I found out that not only were the tickets to see the tapings free, but he had already told my grandma I'd be staying with her, and she had all sorts of yard work and stuff ready for me to do for her once I arrived. Obviously, I didn't go, and my dad is still bitter that I didn't appreciate his gift. Story 24. We're not friends anymore, and haven't been for more than 10 years now. However, we were very close from ages 12 to 25. One Christmas when we were 18, her present to me was a wrapped-up VHS tape. I had loaned her years before, and she had forgotten. It was actually my tape of Wayne's World I was now getting back, as she tried to pass it off as an actual gift. Story 25. One Christmas when I was 16, my dad and stepmom bought gifts for themselves and wrote my name on them. The game I asked for, I never got, but I got 2 games my dad wanted. I got a hoodie 4 times the big that they returned and kept the money for. I got a Warhammer 40K collection that I never had any interest in, but my dad did, and he kept it for himself, not letting me touch it. The only gifts I got that were for me was socks and candy. Then after I called them out on it, they said that they did not and called me ungrateful and screamed at me, throwing me into the wall, and my dad disowned me. The next day, he did say he didn't mean to disown Mister. Years later, I saw my gifts and said they were mine, and then my stepmom said, no, they were not, because she remembers buying them for themselves and didn't remember that they gifted them to me for Christmas. So one Christmas, I got punished for being unhappy about the fact they did exactly what I thought they did and was not grateful for the gifts I got that they bought for themselves. Story 26. My parents didn't buy me anything this Christmas. We were spreading out the present unwrapping either side of Christmas dinner, which my sister and I made. And I'd opened a present from my siblings and one from my ex-boyfriend. When we got back to the presents after eating, I realized there was nothing left for me to open. Story 27. My mom uses Christmas presents to tell us where she thinks we rank in the family. One year, she got me a woman's coat. I'm a middle-aged man. Another year, she got all the grandkids' pajamas. She got me the same thing, kids' pajamas sized small. I'm 6'1" and almost 200 pounds. Story 28. My grandfather's died note and a card to my family. Naturally, we called and got to his place as fast as we could. He was gone by the time we got there. Story 29. Ex-GF gave me a book on the history of gunpowder. I admit I enjoyed it as it was an interesting read. Problem was, I had already read it 2 months prior because she had already given me a copy as my birthday gift. Story 30. My little brother was the baby of the family. Dude could have gotten away with actual murder in my parents' eyes when we were growing up. They gave him anything and everything he ever asked for. So my freshman year of high school, I made a new group of friends and they all had dirt bikes. They went out to the woods and desert and rode almost every weekend, and they always invited me along. One guy had an old one that they would let me ride, and I was having so much fun. So I asked for a dirt bike that year. I know this is a crazy expensive gift, but my parents are very well off, and this would not be much of an expense for them. Well, my little brother got wind of me asking for a dirt bike, so he asked for one too, even though he didn't really have an interest in it. Christmas comes around. I come out to the living room, and there sits a brand new Kawasaki KX5. Way too small of a bike for me, so I look around the house, in the backyard, in the garage, thinking maybe mine was just too big to wheel inside. Nope, they got my little brother one. And they got me a remote-controlled dirt bike, don't worry. They got my little brother the exact same remote control one as me too. Never been so heartbroken in my life to see my little brother get the gift I asked for, and I didn't. The best part is, I bet I could count on one hand the number of times he rode that dirt bike in the several years we owned it before my dad sold it for pennies on the dollar. Story 31. A mother ducking flask had been sober just over 2 years at that point, and it was widely known. Duck you, Jeff. 4 years on 10/18. Jeff is my fill, and because of health reasons only, has switched to a strict wine and clear liquor only regimen. He said, no more of that nasty brown stuff. It just isn't any good for you. I nodded. Seriously though, thank you. I recently decided to go to some sort of AA, and I think this response/kindness/support kind of confirms it for me, so thank you for that last push. Story 32. My grandmother's sister is a nuttery for Christmas presents. One year I had a coloring book off, designed to teach 4 to 6 years old to color in the lines. I was 19. When I was 20, I had a small box of alcohol chocolates offer. My mother looked at them and said they looked familiar. She also ended up getting one. That's when she remembered where she saw them. 2 for 1 in Poundland XD. Story 33. One year for Christmas, my aunt gave identical cuckoo clocks to my parents, my brother, and me and my husband. It was just confusing. We've never asked her about it. Story 34. Mood lipstick. Just saw that they sell these again. Wow, I got mine when I was 8 for Christmas from my Karini grandmother, and that's all I got. Whereas my cousin's multiple presents, I felt slighted. Story 35. I got a chessboard. That's okay. Except that I was just about to go backpacking for 6 months plus and had given up my apartment. It was an unusually large chessboard, made of glass and with all glass pieces. It didn't come with any kind of storage or carry case, just the cardboard and styrofoam packaging. Also, I don't play chess. I was like, wow, thanks for the burden. I have less than a week to re-gift this or it's going in the trash. Story 36. Once I was asking my son his opinion on the Roomba vacuum cleaner. He told me that they were great, but to make sure not to get a knockoff, as he had gotten one a few years before, and it was crap. Fast forward a couple of years. Christmas comes, and I get a used knockoff Roomba from him. I was laughing so hard he asked me why. I had to remind him of our previous conversation that he had forgotten. Story 37. Oh, hands down, it was from my mother-in-law. To set the stage, my meal is a little nutty about Christmas. I don't feel super comfortable about this, since I had only started dating her daughter a few months prior, but I managed to get her a list of a few things, all between $10, $20, so that she can get me as much or as little as she wants. Seems reasonable, right? Well, she took one look at it and threw all that crap right out. So let's rewind a little. The first time we met, I had been getting over a cold. She came over, unannounced as always, and wants to meet me. All right, but I look like ass from not shaving and generally feeling like death. That's okay, it's really no bother for me. Not who I was worried about, lady, but okay. We have an uncomfortable dinner on my Fiesta wear plates, which she notices are different colors. I tell her, yeah, it's Fiesta wear and that they come in multiple colors. She says nothing else for the remainder of the meal. Christmas Day arrives, and I'm excited but cautious about spending the day with my wife's family. I open the first box, anxious to see how this is going to play out, and it's an electric razor, the cheapest one on the market. Because when I met you, you had all that beard. Yeah, lady, I remember. I was also sick as a damn dog the week before, so needless to say I wasn't shaving a ton. I am, at the time, 29 years old. I have all the shaving things I will ever need, and I do not care for electric razors at all. Oh, thank you, is what I said. Next present, it's a set of expensive dishware, or rather, it used to be. You see, she had gotten some dishware at an estate sale or some kind restaurant closing. Through years of use, the glaze had been skied off the eating surface because of all the forks and knives scraping across it. I looked on eBay, and these plates are very expensive, she exclaimed, conveniently omitting the fact that she got them at 90% off of their retail price. Because you have all those mismatching dishes. Now you have a full set. Oh, there's gold leaf foil on the edges, so don't put them in the microwave or the dishwasher. I sure can't wait to use these when I get home after my totally unrelated trip to the Goodwill. Thanks again. The last gift was a wine rack, which, hey, I like wine. I have never had enough wine in my own home to need an entire wine rack, but you know what? Sure, whatever. You know who does like wine to a problematic level? My mother-in-law. Oh, she drinks that crap like a smoothie. All told, she got me absolutely nothing on my list, and absolutely everything she did get me was a sort of backhanded compliment, but in gift form. A backhanded gift, if you will. I have had people insult me, try and fight me, former bouncer, and a few of them even tried to kill me, but backhanded gifts was a new one on me. I guess it was a huge shock because my family is actually pretty great about the holidays. We all care for each other and strive to get everyone the best gifts. It would never even occur to any of us to demand a list and then completely ignore it. But I guess that's how Christmas at my wife's house is. We don't talk to her mother anymore for a variety of reasons. But this still stand out in my mind as one of, if not the worst gift anyone has ever gotten me. It wasn't that they were bad presents per se, but there was just a little bit of duck you in it to make me wonder how someone who claims to love Christmas so much became the way that she is. I'll never forget it. Story 38. Every time my mom went on holiday, she would bring back a shark tooth necklace to give me for a birthday or Christmas present. I have no idea why. I had never worn jewelry of any kind, and I'm the antithesis of a surfer dude. Story 39. One time my cousin got me some tampon flasks. Fake tampons you can put liquor in so you can sneak it. But I'm a guy. I guess I could put them in my ass, but I don't want to. To clarify the confusion, I did think women inserted them to sneak them in. Story 40. Every year, my grandma would send me clothing for a 6-year-old. Seems like the concept of my brother and I actually growing escaped her. After a few years of this, my mom got tired of her wasting her money on this and told her to just send my mom the money and she would buy the gift. Just send a card.